All right, so the Ameri-Barra is probably one of the best engines GM has ever made. Welcome back to another episode of Monstars. I'm your host Z. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Big shout out to Jacusto_stay in shape for requesting this video. And I wanted to talk about this engine for a while now. So thanks for requesting this and also showing support on the Trackout Killer and the Budget Trailblazer SS videos too. If you guys haven't seen those, I'll leave links in the description below. And I will do my best with the information I provide to help you with your build. With that being said, let's get into it. For those who don't know, the Vortec 4200 is a 4.2 liter inline six, making anywhere from 270 to 275 horsepower to the crank and 275 to 277 pound-feet of torque to the crank. And it makes full torque at 1800 RPM. That's diesel engine type stuff. Now, these engines are commonly found anywhere from 2002 to 2008 in GM SUVs like the Chevy Trailblazer LT, Buick Rainier, GMC Envoy, and the Oldsmobile Bravada. You can find these anywhere from $4,500 to $9,500 today. Now, these engines did not have common issues per se, but in the early stages, they had some very oddball issues that might happen. Very rarely did they happen, but it was the VVT solenoid could get clogged, or the ignition coil would fail, or the valve seats would get soft, which is whatever. But these engines are everywhere, so these vehicles are everywhere, and they just run and run and run. If you have any issues, I'll start with these three things and go from there. And I can't not mention this engine without mentioning the YouTube channel 957, where they made about 700 horsepower on a stock block. However, if this is going to be a budget boost, daily driven build, I do recommend a rebuild kit, and you can find these on Amazon anywhere from $550 to $600. Any part that I mentioned that is found on Amazon, I'll leave links in the description below. That being said, to support 450 horsepower fuel-wise, you're going to need about 65-pound injectors, and you can find these for about $500. A Bosch 044 fuel pump for $170 or an equivalent. And it's always good to have a catch can. So 350 milliliter oil catch can. You can find these on Amazon for about $30, and the ratings are pretty good. As far as electronics go, if you have an 02 to 05 engine, you're going to need to change the ignition coils. Now, you can run LS2 coils, but it requires some custom pinning and wiring, or you can keep it simple and get the coil adapters, which now that 57 has in the shop, for $80. I'll leave links in the description below for those. And if you have, 06 to 08 engine, you don't have to worry about this. Now, if you need to get new coils, you can find them for about $100 new, or used for about half the price. After that, you got the AEM wideband O2 sensor. It does come with a gauge, and that's about $188. And to keep it consistent, they have a boost gauge for $200 as well. Now, on the turbo side of things, no pun intended, typically you'd have to do a custom fabricated manifold. However, Arctech Performance has a T4 manifold for about $1,700. Now, the potential on this manifold and turbos they suggest will net you anywhere from 450 to probably closer to 700 horsepower, as long as you have the fuel system and tuning to support it, right? So, out of the three turbos they mentioned, which is the Garrett G45 series, the Precision 7200 series, or the BorgWarner S400 series turbos, the cheapest one that I could find is the BorgWarner S400. There's a OEM version of one for about $600. It's mint. However, I believe there are some diesel pickups that run a BorgWarner S400. And if you can find one of these, even at like a junkyard or used, as long as it's been rebuilt or you don't mind rebuilding it, I say go for it. As long as it has the T4 flange and it fits. Now, they do also recommend the 50mm wastegate from TurboSmart. You find these for about $530, and TurboSmart's been around for a long time, probably just as long as AEM, honestly, and they work really good. And as far as the oil feed line and fittings go, ICT is where you can find these parts for connecting the line from the turbo down to the pan. And with these three parts combined, you can find this for about $60, again on Amazon. Now we're going to talk about the transmission. 4L60s is what they run. I don't know why people talk smack about the 4L60s. As long as you build it and take care of it, it'll take care of you. So, Transgo shift kit, it's about $60, and a True Cool Max transmission cooler, about $155. And if you have some money left over and want a little bit more pep in it, you can get a 28 stall torque converter, and you're good to go. Now, the things that I could not factor in cost-wise are, one, tuning, which for convenience sake would be HP tuners. and they just use the factory PCM and they can reflash it. Other things that I couldn't factor in are like the intercooler, for example, because there isn't really one made for this vehicle. You'd have to measure to see how much of an intercooler core you can run, and also have space for the transmission cooler, and have that fabricated along with the downpipe for the turbo manifold and the rest of the exhaust work. And lastly, if any of that gets in the way of the AC and power steering, you're gonna have to relocate that stuff too. And that cost comes down ultimately to who you want to send the vehicle to in your area, or if you want to do the work yourself. But for the parts that I did mention, not including labor, we're looking at a little bit over $5,000, like 5,080 bucks or so. And that's a great example of a budget build, especially for 450 horsepower. That's pretty fun. So let me know what you guys think. Do you have an Ameri-Barra? Do you want to get one? Do you want to build one? Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and share. If you don't know, now you know, but do what you want to do.